So many people find themselves in this situation where they have to completely move to another area. They have no idea, and sometimes they can't even visit that area prior. We know we have it happen to us all the time with people coming from all over the country. So this video is going to be about exactly how you can move to another area without even visiting.
So believe it or not, this happens way more than you think. There's a lot of people out there that have to relocate without any time to explore the area. And around here, we see it a lot because we have military moves, and there's a lot of people that do job transfer and they end up here without having time or even the ability. Maybe they can afford to come back and forth, or they just have too much on their plates to make that happen. So for us, it's a lot about the video. We spend a lot of time doing video on the area so that you know what your commute time might be like to work. We do a lot of video about neighborhoods and which might be the best for you as far as location to either schools, parks, or whatever recreation you're into. And then it comes down to the video of the home.
Yeah, so if we unpack that, if you know nothing about this area or even somewhere else that you may be going, it's getting with somebody that can give you some transparency around what's it like to live in this small city versus this small city versus this small city, because the chances are if you're moving somewhere, there's kind of micro areas within a particular city. So here in Pierce County, Washington, we actually have several different cities right in the vicinity. So it starts with a conversation basically on the computer and a description of those areas to try to match up a particular way of living and lifestyle. Are you the person who wants other neighbors right around you? Are you the person that wants to be out on land? Are you the person that needs to live right next to a Whole Foods?
Some people need to be really close to walking distance for either a dog park for their dogs, or maybe schools for their kids, or it's something like the gym is really important and you want to be within 2 minutes of a gym. So just depending on your lifestyle, a lot of that can be figured out with video or just conversations over the phone.
Yeah, so get with somebody who can sit down in 2 different locations, right? So you're on your computer in another city, and the person where you're going to is on the computer there. More than likely, you're gonna work with somebody that's already there, right? And you're just talking in general sense about what's it like to live in all the different places, so that hopefully after that conversation, you can sort of narrow it down to a few different spots within a particular city.
So once you've narrowed that down, you've got your lifestyle, sort of where are you coming from, what are you used to compared to where you're going, and what your expectations are and what's actually available within those expectations. Then it's about the home itself. And we do a ton of home tours around here.
Yeah, and the most important thing about the home tour, the thing if you're somewhere else and you're relying on somebody to be your eyes and your ears and all those things, is it's not necessarily all about the house, it's about what's around the house. What does the street look like? How far is it from the freeway? You know, is there anything unsightly that might affect my property value that I can't see because I'm not there? So you might be driving through a neighborhood that doesn't look so good to get to this particular home that you may be viewing. So some transparency around all those things.
Oftentimes when I'm doing these videos, I'll hear something in the background, and maybe you can't even hear it on the camera, but I might say something like, in this neighborhood, you're probably gonna have a train in the background in your backyard. So if that bothers you, keep in mind, maybe look at the map, see where that is. Recently, this happened even yesterday, where I walked into a home and I'm like, I'm not sure if you know what a Labrador smells like, but I think there were 3 of them living in this house. So we definitely shout out on the things that we know might be important to people that they cannot get a hold of without physically being here. So it's your eyes, your ears, your nose. And even sometimes just like the vibe of the neighborhood, because sometimes it might be like, oh, it looks like everybody's hanging outside in the cul-de-sac and partying today, and that might not be something that you want to do. So just giving you a feel for what's going on around you.
Yeah, and you can get a lot of that work done on your own if it makes you feel better. So one of the best things to do is, if you identify a property that you like, is simply look at it on Google Maps. And not to say that Google Maps is always up to the minute or anything like that, but what I have found is on listings in this area, very oftentimes there's something strategically missing from the photos, meaning the house might be right next to a highway, or if they're not showing you the backyard, maybe the backyard actually backs up to a railroad or something along those lines. So get yourself on Google Maps, do some reconnaissance, and see what you can see. I've even had it to where somebody sent me a listing, they're all excited about it, they're in a different location, and they didn't realize it, but there is a major industrial park right on the opposite side of the fence behind the property. So most of these things are actually really easy to see in advance.
If you're gonna make this move without seeing the home, we recommend that you get with somebody that will talk to you about the details in your video. So like, is the driveway super sloped in the front? Does that matter to you? Is there a dog in the back of the property that somebody else owns that's barking while you're showing the home? Are there things going on the front porch that look funny or that wouldn't show up on the pictures, but that maybe the siding needs to be replaced or something like that?
Yeah, that listing is always painted in the perfect light. So these are things that are missing. I mean, if you're purchasing a townhome, does the neighbor play music all the time? There's a lot that goes into this. So I've seen it to where too, you cannot tell, but in the backyard looks all perfect, but there's this flat part of the backyard and then it just slopes down really aggressively. And so if somebody had kids or, pets, you've got this area now where you're probably gonna have to fence off the top of the backside of the lot.
On that same note, sometimes the floor plan is really funky, so you walk into the house and the pictures look really cute online, but then you're like, how the heck, this doesn't make any sense, and where's the furniture gonna go, and there's no place for anything, or there's no storage. I've had homes where you're like, it's important to someone to have super great storage, and there just isn't any.
Yeah, I've had it to where the garage looked normal and then the garage couldn't fit your average car inside, but the way that the photograph looked, it looked really long. So there's a lot of deception that occurs. And so just what can you truly see yourself fitting into this property from all the different angles? And so very transparently done video by a real estate agent. I'm not talking about getting on Google Hangouts. I'm talking about actually film the house, because what's nice is you can always go back to the video. Once you hang up the phone and you're on, what's the one with, is it FaceTime with Apple? I have an Apple and I don't even know the name, but when you're doing that live, it doesn't give you the same perspective as actually having it recorded on video. So the other thing is I've seen this happen with a lot of real estate agents. After the pandemic occurred, real estate agents started filming houses, but they would kind of film the best portions of the house too. And so they were being a little bit deceptive back to you who were in a completely different location because they wanted you to buy the house, right? And so making sure that there's nothing hidden, and because it very easily it can happen that you come out to the property and all of a sudden the trim needs to be painted. There's all these flaws in the walls, and maybe there's some gaps in the hardwood flooring because it's laminate and moved around. And you have all these things that now you're inheriting as projects and money. And so you have to make sure that the person is being super transparent with everything that's being seen at the property, because some of these hidden things, I recently had a client that I met with that this happened to them. They thought the real estate agent did a good job and they showed up and the property was not what they expected. And I think that that's everybody's fear out there, is this gonna happen to me?
Yeah, so finding somebody that you can trust and then hiring an inspector who's also gonna go through the home and inspect everything and put that in a report for you to look at. And some inspectors will even do videos as well. So you could also come and visit for that inspection period and get that part done while you're here, or you can have the inspection report sent to you.
Yeah, you make a good point, because if you are going to buy it completely sight unseen and you're going to make the decision and you don't want to be bound to this agreement, maybe that's the best time to actually take one trip out and just make sure it's good, right? Before you make that commitment on $300, $400, $500, $600,000 plus dollars. And that would be, so make sure that your paperwork and your agreement like maybe gives you that out so that you can explore it for yourself. But at least the initial shopping stages and everything can be done from a distance.
Sometimes clients moving here from out of state end up buying a new construction home, which is a whole process. And that's also something that you can do and have videos done along the way, set up either when the foundation's done, depending on how far along it is, making sure the house sits where you think it's gonna sit on the lot, walking the backyard, figuring out how much space there's actually gonna be. That list of what's included in the home is very important, because some builders have different sets of standard features than others. And then as the progress goes along, going through the home as it's being built, showing you the progress.
Yeah, new construction is actually nice because it's a very predictable process if you do a kind of a production build. I'm not talking about a complete custom home. I'm talking about the subdivision house that most people would enter into a contract for. And what are the included items? Because on new construction, a lot of the times they will build you a big, beautiful house, but you are missing maybe the backyard landscaping, the fencing, maybe the window treatments, to a certain extent, maybe the refrigerator, exactly what you're getting, and making sure that whoever you're working with understands exactly what will be delivered to you, because it's new and it's not an existing home with all those things that are already there.
So one concern that's pretty common if you're coming from one area to another is that markets vary. From one state or even one city to another, markets are different. So knowing that the person that you're working with is very familiar with how to negotiate in the market that you're going to buy in, that you're going to have a competitive offer if there are multiple offers or a competitive price situation. And also just that they understand how to put the offer together that's best for you for what your outcome is supposed to be.
Yeah, the last thing you want to do is find like the perfect house from a distance, and the realtor doesn't have the skills to actually coach you on the way to actually win that bid. And I'm not talking about overpaying for the house. I'm just talking about a strategically placed offer, meaning, do they understand the real value of the home? Are they separately figuring out what that looks like? Is the house overpriced? Is it underpriced? Or is it priced at market value? So that's your baseline. And from there, you can form your strategy. So I would always recommend asking the realtor that you're working with, okay, this house we're gonna negotiate on potentially a $600,000. We really love it. Is it priced well? Is it over? Like what baseline are we starting from here? And then have them talk to the listing agent of that property, start building a relationship with them so that they understand what the seller's needs are, so you can match everything up and write a really competitive offer that can make sure that you're not the one that's always coming in second or third place, so that your timeline just gets longer and longer and you're not securing the property you want to secure.
The great thing nowadays is everything to do with the paperwork is pretty much done via email, online, DocuSign, AuthentiSign. Almost everything is done just clicking your signature. So that part of the process is pretty well practiced, and most people do it even if they're physically here. It's something that we do all the time, every day. It's very streamlined for most realtors. Oftentimes the move doesn't coordinate exactly with the timing that the seller has to move out, and the property might be vacant for a week or two or a month. We've seen it happen to where we just set it up where there's a key box that's available or a time that we can meet once you do get here. So it doesn't have to align quite perfectly with the timing, as long as there's a lot of communication and everybody knows what's going on.
Yeah, we have it happen all the time. You know, your house is ready for you, but you're still in the process of relocating. I want you to know that's completely normal. In certain cases, you know, it depends on level of comfort of how long you want the property sitting there empty, what type of neighborhood is it in, and all those things. Very easy to figure that out in advance. If you find yourself coming to Washington by chance, we do have a lot of videos on our channel, guides of different neighborhoods, so be sure to check that out, and we'll see you on the next one.